What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on Spider-Man Far From Home, and the future of Spider-Man in the MCU is in question after Amy Pascal has moved to Universal Studios. Although it still states that she will be overlooking Spider-Man movies, I very much doubt she will, because why would Universal let her still work for Sony on Spider-Man movies? That doesn't really make any sense. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the content. We are giving away an Infinity Gauntlet, the Hasbro one, the Marvel Legends one. It's pretty sick. All you gotta do is subscribe to the channel. Let me know down below what is going on with Spider-Man. And also at the 100,000 subscriber mark, we will be giving away a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One. But that competition will be legit, like every competition on this channel is legit. So let's get into the news. So it appears Spider-Man Far From Home trailer is going to be attached to Detective Pikachu, which I believe comes out on the 9th of May, which is a week tomorrow, being Thursday. I think it's out everywhere on the 10th. So within the next week, we will be getting a Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. But even though it's attached to that Detective Pikachu movie that's going to blow every movie out of the water, well, at least it will for its first one in the franchise. Interesting. So it realistically could come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday next week, but it is pretty awesome. According to trailertrack.com, it states that the approval runtime of the trailer is 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So that is pretty long. And we do know that the reason the second Spider-Man Far From Home trailer was delayed was because of massive spoilers. I presume, like we did say on the channel, that Iron Man dies in Endgame. Spoiler warning. And that is why you're not going to see this trailer before Endgame come out, just like we said and just like it actually happened. So it is pretty cool. As we know, they've kind of messed up the timeline in Endgame, and this is going to trigger people, and people are like, no, the Russo bros explained it. They explained that literally there was two realities, and whilst Captain America was in the other reality, the normal reality was just going along fine. That makes absolutely no sense to anyone that actually thinks outside of the box. I just think Marvel's explanation for the alternate timeline makes absolutely no sense. So why am I saying this? Because it triggered me a bit. So as we know, the end of Spider-Man sees Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and Peter Parker return to the world because he's been asleep for 5 years. So technically they're in 2023, and technically he's 5 years older. And it's just a miracle that it looks like Ned also has not aged and has also been dusted. So they're going to have to do a lot of explaining because, as said, Amy Pascal said it's set moments after Endgame. But no one knew that Endgame ended 5 years in the future, which is good for the next Avengers franchise's bunch of movies, because obviously it means that they don't have to drop one to 2023. But Spider-Man Far From Home dropping in July, it causes a massive problem, and maybe that's a spoiler why they didn't actually release a Spider-Man Far From Home second trailer, when rumoredly the second trailer was going to come out, but then it didn't because it had massive spoilers. So Sony will be running the movies, press, marketing it, they distribute it. But yeah, it's a bit confusing for some people because Marvel make the movie, but Sony finances it. Sony makes the money from the movie, and Sony does everything. So that is interesting. We can't wait for Far From Home. They're just going to really have to explain what is going on, why no one's aged. Okay, we know they're not aged because they've been asleep for 5 years, but still that makes no sense because some of his friends wouldn't be there. They would have graduated and stuff. But then the Russos kind of came up with that explanation, but realistically, I don't believe a word they say because they also said the movie isn't called Endgame, and it is. They also said a load of stuff that realistically never happened, and they misled everyone. So I don't believe any of these explanations, if I'm honest. So let's get on to the more interesting news. Amy Pascal is leaving Sony, and she is going over to Universal. So as I've said a long time, Venom made more money than Homecoming. So realistically, why should they keep Spider-Man in the MCU? Yes, guys, of course you're going to get Spider-Man 3. But after that, like it did say in the deal that she's going to stay on to work with Spider-Man movies. But realistically, from a job standpoint of view, that makes no sense for her to go over to Universal but to still come back and make movies for Spider-Man. That makes realistically no sense because the deal with Sony and Kevin Feige, she's pinnacle to that deal. So it makes more sense for Sony to bring Spider-Man back to their universe because Venom trashed Homecoming in terms of money. And when it comes to box office, studios only care about how much money the movie made. Yes, Venom made more money because of China, because Venom did really well in China, but it still trashed over Homecoming which everyone thinks is really good. Homecoming is pretty good, but like I say, Spider-Man needs Venom. Venom does not need Spider-Man. At some point, Venom should smash Spider-Man, maybe get Miles Morales version, and obviously Carnage is going to be involved. We need Spider-Man in the Sonyverse where Venom is. I think that would be cool. I don't really believe she's going to continue to stay on, because it's like you don't go to work for another company and continue to do work for the same company on a project that for the company you no longer are attached with. That makes no sense from a business and logistical standpoint of view. It makes no sense for her to continue working on the Spider-Man projects if she doesn't work for Sony anymore. It literally makes no sense. So I'm reading the Deadline.com article about this, and it ends with the following. Everyone at Sony Pictures, myself first among us, I love Amy. We are profoundly grateful for all she's done and contributed, both current and past, at our success. The great news for us is that our partnership will continue for many years to come with her work on Spider-Man and other key titles. We are very happy for her. I mean, this seems very odd to me. So it's like, yeah, she's going to work at Universal, but she's still going to work with Spider-Man in the MCU, and she's still going to keep the relationship going. I understand that she was with Sony for 30 years. But would you really go to work for another company and still do work previous company you just left? I don't really believe this, but only time will tell. I think this is kind of ruling out that Spider-Man will be coming back to Sony properly, and the MCU partnership will be over after Spider-Man 3. Obviously, we know we're getting Spider-Man 3 regardless, but it is a very interesting conversation. It's a very interesting debate, so to speak. I'm already seeing like massive Twitter conversations about people going, no, Spider-Man's not going anywhere. And realistically, no one knows. But at least we know we've got Spider-Man Far From Home, and there will be Spider-Man 3 at the minimum contract, because Tom Holland is under contract for Homecoming. Obviously, he's already done that. Spider-Man Far From Home, and there is Spider-Man 3. So regardless to what happens with Amy Pascal working with Spider-Man and other key titles, as the Deadline report says, we're at least going to get Spider-Man 3 in the MCU. I mean, realistically, it is cool seeing Spider-Man with the Avengers, but I'd rather see Spider-Man with Venom and with Carnage and with Kraven the Hunter and with all the Sony kind of, and Morpheus and all the Sony characters that he can't be with if he's part of the MCU deal, which is very interesting. So like always, guys, please drop all your comments down below. I'm very interested to see what you guys think about where Spider-Man Far From Home is set, because I know Amy, I know Kevin Feige, they both said it's set moments after Endgame, but now we know Endgame is set in 2023. There's a lot of continuity issues. There's a lot of errors with it. It just doesn't make any sense, because we've seen the first Spider-Man Far From Home trailer and all his little friends are there. Probably shouldn't say little friends, but all his friends are there from high school. None of them are aged. No one's disappeared out of his crew, because how the snap works, right, is 50% of everyone, 50% of Kree, 50% of everyone disappeared randomly. So you're telling me the whole of his class somehow, statistically, mathematically speaking, didn't disappear. Now, if this was real, half of his class would disappear. But based on the Far From Home trailer, it looks like no one from his class has disappeared. This is what I mean when movies, The Flash, TV shows introduce time traveling. They have no sense of how to do it properly without creating these massive continuity issues, these plot holes, and then they come out and do these explainers that literally say to us, we don't understand time travel ourselves, but we're trying to cover the plot holes because we created them. I understand it's pretty cool. I mean, now we're introduced to the multiverse in the MCU. It's fantastic, but do not create plot holes. It really is the explainer for Captain America being able to go back in time and still bringing the shield back makes absolutely no sense. A bridge dimension. No, that is just a scapegoat. Cop out. I've been saying on my Twitter this week how the explanations just don't make logical sense. I just wish they'd come out with a real explanation, because it's not that hard to come up with an explanation that doesn't say, oh, well, one timeline was there, but one time wasn't there. It makes literally no sense from a logically thinking point of view. So guys, I'm very interested to find out, where is it set? Can it be set? I'm even starting to think maybe it is set before Endgame, because it just doesn't add up. That like half the class would have to disappear. Some people would age. Some people would graduate. I mean, you got to think this is set in the world that was decimated. I mean, did this school even run during them 5 years? But it's very interesting. So guys, drop all your comments down below. We'd love to have a conversation down below about the future of the MCU and the future of Spider-Man inside the MCU. And remember, Spider-Man Far From Home trailer will be dropping in the next 7 days. So like always, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'll catch you in another video very soon. Catch ya later.